I watched her take all the credit for my work, smiling at me while she stabbed me in the back. She never expected I'd been documenting everything. The look on her face when I pulled out the receipts in front of our entire management team, priceless. It was a Tuesday morning in March when I first noticed something off. The office hummed with the usual sounds. Keyboards clicking, phones ringing, the coffee machine gurgling in the break room. I'd been at Patterson & Weiss marketing for 3 years, steadily climbing the ladder through hard work and consistent results. The quarterly presentation for the Harrington account was due Friday, and I'd spent weeks perfecting it. I was adding final touches when Rachel stopped by my desk, coffee cup in hand. "Hey, Sarah, how's the Harrington presentation coming along?" Rachel had joined the company 8 months ago. We worked on the same team, though she was technically my equal in position. She had this way about her, always perfectly dressed, hair never out of place, voice calibrated to be heard by anyone important passing by. "Almost done," I said, not looking up from my screen. "Just tweaking the conversion strategy section." She leaned against my desk, close enough that I could smell her expensive perfume. "Mind if I take a look? I have some thoughts on conversion that might help." I hesitated. Something in her tone felt rehearsed, but I pushed the feeling aside. We were teammates after all. "Sure," I said, turning my monitor toward her. Rachel spent 10 minutes scrolling through my presentation, making small noises of approval. "This is really good, Sarah. Really good. I'm impressed." I smiled, pride warming my chest. "Thanks. I've been working on it since the initial brief." "I can tell." She straightened up. "Would you mind sending me the file? I'd love to study your approach more carefully." I emailed it without thinking twice. That was my first mistake. The next morning, I arrived early as usual. The office was quiet, only a few early birds at their desks. I noticed Rachel's light was on, which was unusual. She typically rolled in around 9:30, making a grand entrance when the office was full. I passed by her office on my way to the break room. Through the glass partition, I saw her hunched over her computer, frantically typing. Our eyes met briefly. She jumped, then gave me an overly bright smile and a wave that seemed forced. I waved back, but something cold settled in my stomach. By lunchtime, that feeling had grown. Rachel, normally social and always finding reasons to chat with team leaders, had barely left her office. When Mark from sales asked about the Harrington presentation during our team check-in, I started to answer, but Rachel cut in. "It's coming along wonderfully," she said, not looking at me. "I've been putting in some late nights, but I think the strategy is really innovative." I froze. "I've been putting in late nights? The strategy? As if it wasn't mine. Actually," I began, but Rachel steamrolled over me. "Sarah's been helping with some of the background research," she added, giving me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Haven't you, Sarah?" 12 pairs of eyes turned to me. I felt heat rising in my cheeks. "I've actually been leading the presentation development," I corrected, keeping my voice level. "Rachel offered some feedback yesterday." An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Rachel laughed lightly. "Oh, Sarah's being modest. We've been collaborating, of course. Team effort." Mark nodded, clearly wanting to move past the awkward moment. "Great. Looking forward to seeing it Friday." After the meeting, I cornered Rachel by the printer. "What was that about?" She blinked innocently. "What do you mean?" "You know exactly what I mean. That's my presentation." "Oh, Sarah." She touched my arm, her nails digging in slightly. "Don't be so territorial. We're all on the same team here. And honestly, I've made so many changes to what you sent me. It's practically a different presentation now." I pulled my arm away. "I'd like to see these changes." "Of course, I'll send it over later today." She gathered her papers from the printer tray. "By the way, I mentioned to Diane that I've taken point on Harrington." She seemed pleased. Diane, our department director, the woman who would be deciding on promotions next month. I watched Rachel walk away, her heels clicking confidently on the hardwood floor. My coffee had gone cold in my hand. That evening, Rachel finally sent me the presentation. I opened it immediately, my blood pressure rising with each slide. It was my work, my exact work, down to the comma placement, except for one thing. The name on the cover slide now read, "Prepared by Rachel Winters," with my name in small font under Research Support. I stared at my screen for a full minute, then took a screenshot. then another. Then I went through my sent emails and found the original file I'd given her. I created a new folder on my desktop and named it Evidence. The next day, I arrived even earlier than usual. The cleaners were still vacuuming as I settled at my desk and began my plan. First, I pulled up the document properties on both presentations, clearly showing when I had created the original file and when Rachel had simply changed the name. Screenshot, saved. Then I went through my calendar, documenting every meeting I'd had about the Harrington account, every call, every work session. I emailed Tom and Priya, who had been in early brainstorming sessions with me, just confirming the notes from our Harrington strategy meetings in February.
Attached is what I have. Can you verify this aligns with your recollections? They both replied within hours, confirming my records. I saved those emails too. I worked quietly, methodically. When Rachel arrived that day, I smiled
and waved. She seemed relieved, probably thinking I'd accepted my fate as her background support. Over the next 2 days, I watched Rachel's confidence grow. She spoke about her presentation in meetings. She stopped by Diane's office multiple times, portfolio in hand. She even had the audacity to ask me to print handouts for Friday. "Make sure there are enough for everyone," she said, not looking up from her phone. "Oh, and can you check my slides once more for typos? You're so good with details." I nodded pleasantly. Happy to. What Rachel didn't know was that I'd also spoken with Diane. Not about Rachel, but about my own career development. I'd asked for a private portfolio review, showing Diane my work from the past year, including early drafts of the Harrington presentation with my notes and revisions. I didn't mention Rachel once. I didn't need to. "You've really grown as a strategist, Sarah," Diane had said. "I'm impressed with your thoroughness." I'd also spoken with HR, ostensibly about documentation requirements for client presentations. "I'm just wondering about our protocols for establishing authorship," I'd asked innocently. For compliance purposes, Friday morning arrived. The presentation was scheduled for 11 a.m. in the main conference room. All department heads would be there, along with the CEO, who had a personal interest in the Harrington account. It was also, coincidentally, when quarterly performance reviews and promotion recommendations would be finalized. I dressed carefully that morning, a charcoal grey suit, simple but elegant. Professional, not flashy. I arrived with my own copy of the presentation and my folder of evidence, just in case. The conference room filled quickly. Rachel sat near the head of the table, chatting animatedly with our CEO. I took a seat midway down, opening my notebook calmly. Diane caught my eye and gave me a small nod. At 11 sharp, our CEO called the meeting to order. "I understand we have an exciting new strategy for Harrington today," he said. "Rachel, I believe you're presenting." Rachel stood, smoothing her skirt. "Yes, thank you. I'm excited to share what I've developed." For the next 20 minutes, I watched her present my work. My research, my strategies, my ideas. She was good, confident, articulate. She'd clearly rehearsed. If I hadn't been the actual author, I might have been impressed. As she concluded, there was appreciative nodding around the table. "Excellent work," our CEO said. "Very thorough." Rachel beamed. "Thank you. I've put everything into this project." Then came the moment that made my blood boil, but also confirmed everything I needed to know about her character. "I'd like to thank Sarah," Rachel said, turning to me with a patronizing smile, "for her support behind the scenes. It's so important to have good research assistants." A few people glanced my way. I smiled politely, my hands steady as I closed my notebook. Diane cleared her throat. "Before we move on, I'd like to address something." She looked at me. "Sarah, would you care to comment on the presentation?" Rachel's smile faltered slightly. I nodded, standing slowly. "Thank you, Diane. First, I want to say that I'm pleased with how the Harrington strategy has developed." Rachel relaxed visibly. "However," I continued calmly, "I do feel it's important to clarify the development process." I opened my laptop and connected to the projector. "With your permission, I'd like to share some documentation." The CEO nodded, looking curious. I pulled up a split screen. The original document properties of my presentation on one side, Rachel's version on the other. The creation dates were clearly visible. As you can see, I created this presentation 6 weeks ago and have been refining it since. I shared it with Rachel on Tuesday for feedback. Next, I showed the email thread where I'd sent her my work, followed by the version she returned with only the name changed. I have additional documentation, I continued, my voice steady, including meeting notes from strategy sessions I led in February, correspondence with the Harrington team, and confirmation from colleagues who worked with me throughout the process. The room had gone completely silent. Rachel's face had drained of colour. Tom and Priya, I nodded to my colleagues, can confirm they participated in brainstorming sessions with me for this presentation beginning February 12th. Tom spoke up immediately. That's correct. Sarah has been leading this project from the start. Priya nodded her agreement. I closed my laptop. I'm not sharing this to cause drama. I believe in giving credit where it's due and in maintaining the integrity of our work at Patterson and Weiss. That's all. Thank you. I sat down, heart pounding but externally calm. The CEO looked at Rachel. Do you have a response to this? Rachel's composure cracked. This is ridiculous. We collaborated. Sarah's trying to take credit for a team effort. That's not what your email said, Diane noted quietly, holding up a printout. You referred to it as, quote, my presentation for Harrington when you messaged me yesterday. I just meant, it's just a figure of speech, Rachel stammered. Sarah's being petty about terminology. Document properties and version history aren't terminology, our CTO remarked dryly. They're data. Rachel's eyes darted around the room, finding no allies. This is a simple misunderstanding. Sarah helped with the early draft. Yes, but I completely transformed it. The files are identical, except for the name change, I said quietly. You're trying to sabotage me. Rachel's voice rose sharply. Just because you're jealous of my rapport with the executive team? The CEO raised his hand. That's enough. Rachel, please step outside with HR. We'll continue this discussion privately. As Rachel was escorted out, her face a mask of fury and humiliation, the CEO turned to me. Sarah, please continue with any additional insights on the Harrington strategy. Calmly, professionally, I walked through key points of the strategy I'd developed, answering questions and accepting feedback. The meeting continued as if the interruption had never happened. Afterward, Diane asked me to stay behind. That couldn't have been easy, she said when we were alone. I exhaled slowly. It wasn't. But it was necessary. I agree. She closed her portfolio. For what it's worth, I had my suspicions when Rachel suddenly became an expert on Harrington overnight. Your documentation just confirmed it. What happens now? I asked. Rachel will be moved to another team, at minimum. Trust is essential here. Diane gave me a measured look. As for you, the director position we've been considering, I think you've demonstrated exactly the kind of integrity and professionalism we need in leadership. The following Monday, Rachel's desk was empty. The official word was that she had been reassigned to our satellite office across town, a significant demotion. Some people gave me curious looks, but most just nodded respectfully. The story had spread, as stories do. I found a small box on my desk that morning. Inside was a new business card holder, with a note from Diane. For Sarah Matthews, Senior Director of Strategy, well earned. Later that week, I led my first director-level meeting. As I arranged my materials before people arrived, I noticed someone had left a coffee cup on the conference table. It was Rachel's distinctive mug, one she'd been carrying when she first asked to see my presentation. Someone must have found it in a cabinet and left it out. I picked it up, feeling its weight. Then I walked to the break room, washed it thoroughly, and placed it on the communal shelf. Available for anyone who needed it, no name attached. In the months that followed, I instituted new protocols for our team. All major projects now had clear documentation of contributions. Shared drives replaced individual files. Weekly credit meetings ensured everyone's work was properly acknowledged. Isn't this a lot of extra process? A new team member asked once. I smiled, thinking of that coffee cup, now used by different people every day. It's not about process, it's about protection. For everyone, your work should speak for itself, but sometimes it needs your help to be heard correctly. I never heard from Rachel again, though I heard rumors she left the industry entirely after a similar incident at her next job. I didn't follow up. Her story wasn't mine anymore.
What stayed with me wasn't the betrayal, or even the satisfaction of the truth coming out.
It was the lesson. Your work matters enough to protect. Your voice deserves to be heard. And sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one with all the receipts. The business card holder from Diane sits on my desk to this day, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Document everything, trust selectively, and always keep the receipts.